welcome to everyone, and thank you for joining us for this webinar. Let me say a little bit about this webinar. This webinar it's a series that we're running across the country. It's a series by CZA Tourism SME Network. We're a national network of tourism SMEs. Our focus is on helping SMEs to strengthen their international competitiveness and market access. So we very much focused on helping SMEs do better in terms of attracting business, both internationally and domestically. And we do that in a number of ways, by representing SMEs in shows overseas, by engaging in various ways and using different platforms with SMEs. That really is the network. And we decided that given the COVID-19 and the experience that we all as entrepreneurs facing, the challenges we're facing with the lockdown, that it would be useful to bring entrepreneurs, some practical tools and insights that they can use to navigate this difficult time that we're all experiencing. And so we were fortunate to be able to partner in putting together this webinar. We call it Stay in Business. And I think the name itself says exactly what it is. We're trying to help entrepreneurs to get the tools that will help them to stay in business to the extent possible. And we partnered with Christoph Oosthuizen. Christoph is a personal friend for many, many years, more than 20 years. We are together in the field of small business development because that's really my field. He's a professional, an accredited business advisor. So we partnered with him. He as a team, Christoph is the CEO of the Entrepreneurial Planning Institute based in Cape Town. So he's brought together a team that is behind Stay in Business. You're not going to see them today. You're only going to see Christoph, but there's a whole team behind him. And that team runs workshops, Stay in Business workshops. So we invited them to partner with us so that we can bring these webinars and the workshops that follow to our constituents, which in this case are tourism SMEs. The other speaker that we've been having, who is not with us yet, and we hope she'll be able to join. She did call me earlier and said she was having power problems in Cape Town and therefore she was struggling to connect. But it's Maggie Mutangiri. She's an entrepreneur in the tourism space as well. She's a tourism entrepreneur. So she's the one who really brings some very practical insights from the perspective of a tourism entrepreneur, but also because she's a significant player in the digital space. So she talks about how SMEs can embrace digitalization at this time in order to be able to give themselves visibility globally, because one of the things we're concerned about is that SMEs may be left behind because they lack global visibility. So she was going to talk about how we use the digital tools to overcome that, and was going to talk about a specific platform that her company and us as CZA, a digital hub that we are collaborating and creating, where we want to showcase SMEs to the rest of the world. It's a very exciting platform that is being developed, but we will talk about that, with the DMOs, destination marketing organizations, after this, and see how we can partner to do that. So this time we've invited, at the suggestion of Northern Cape Tourism, Dr. Sharon Munyaka, who is a psychologist. She will talk a little bit about that before she presents, because we believe, in as much as we focus on the business, on the well-being of the business, it's important also to focus on the well-being of the entrepreneur, of the jockey, so to speak, behind the business. So Sharon is going to be speaking to that. We then have Sharon Lewis, whom I'm going to invite first to speak. Sharon is the CEO of Northern Cape Tourism Authority. She's our host, our partner as CZA for the Northern Cape webinar, and I'm going to invite Sharon to speak first. And then, of course, after Sharon, it will be Jean Wilson, who is the Chief Director for Provincial Tourism at the department in the Northern Cape, in charge of enterprise development and infrastructure. So I just want to say before I invite Sharon, please, to our delegates, if any chat, you know, I can see the chats are already coming in, so I don't need to tell you that, you know how that works, but anything you just conversational want to do is on the chat. And any questions and answers, any questions you have, put on the Q&A, and then we will make sure that they are answered. Some will answer on the Q&A, and others we will answer verbally. We are scheduling to finish this webinar no later than 25 minutes past 3. So that is our cutoff point. So Sharon Lewis, CEO, let me invite you in, please, just to say a few remarks, and immediately after you, Jean Wilson will speak, and then I'll hand over to Christoph to kick off with a poll. So over to you, please, Sharon. Sorry, my name is Septi Pugula. I'm the director of CZA Tourism SME Network, and I'm assisted by my colleague here, Koti Selwane, who is the national coordinator of CZA. So Sharon Lewis, over to you, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon to CISA and CISA Tourism SME Network, especially to Septi and team. Thank you so much, firstly, for responding to our request to have this webinar. We are very thankful, and we are looking forward to a good interaction and discussion. And then, thank you to Northern Cape. You know, to me, it's so heartwarming, and it actually makes me emotional. You know, because and that's why I love my job. Because when there's a request to go out, when there's a request going out to Northern Cape to respond, you know, to work together to find solutions, we don't have a problem. So, like we say, halala Northern Cape. We are really looking forward to a good discussion. And importantly, you know, the ability to work together in finding solutions across levels of government and between government and the private sector is not an easy, but it is essential. The problems do not belong to some of us. We all have a role in finding the solutions to revive the tourism economy. And the current global shutdown has no precedence. History shows that tourism can rebound strongly from periods of crisis. We know that. So on that note, Septi, again, I'd like to say thank you very much, you know, for putting this together. And I therefore would like to then hand over to my colleague, Ms. Jean Wilson, who also has been very supportive. You know, we're a team, we are very supportive. We complement each other. We do the marketing and promotion, and our colleagues in the department who's responsible for development and growth and infrastructure development. You know, we partner and we discuss. So I'm very grateful that she was able to take off a busy schedule and also be with us. So I'm going to hand over, with your permission, Septi, to Ms.
Yes.
Wilson.
Thank you. Jen, please.
Okay, thank you very much, Septi and the entire CISA team, SME Network, for honoring this a very, very, very important invitation to come and join us. I'd like to say welcome to the Northern Cape virtually. So businesses are actually going through a difficult time, you know, not only financially, but also psychologically as well as emotionally, and this thing is actually just coming at the right time. You know, the pandemic has really caused a dent in everybody's well-being, and it has impacted negatively on our businesses. And I really like to say thank you for the NCTA for taking the initiative to convene, you know, this webinar. And I hope that this great partnership will not end today, but we would like to go further working with you in the future. And I trust that we will all learn from all the various speakers who are well versed in their various fields. And I wish all the businesses that have tuned into this webinar all the best. And I would like to encourage you not to be discouraged and grab what you get here today. Thank you very much and all the best.
Jin, thank you so much to both of you. And yes, I must echo you, Jin. Thank you, Sharon, for the partnership, for partnering with us to bring this to your audiences in the Northern Cape. We're very excited about that. And Jin, this is the first time that we actually have the provincial government in these conversations, and that is fantastic. And that is something that we're going to try and make sure that as we go across the country to other provinces, we do as well. Because as Sharon correctly says, it's a partnership between yourselves and the DMO. And I think it's important at a time like this, in particular, for these two entities to be working together. And I think it sets a very good example for us as entrepreneurs in tourism, to see that you are joining us in our efforts to try and find solutions to the difficulties that we're all facing as entrepreneurs. So I really want to commend you both, and I want to thank you both, and I want to say belatedly, Happy Women's Day. It's a bit late, but it's never too late. And to you, Sharon Munyaka. So Christoph, are you ready for me to hand over to you now, friend?
Yeah, I am Septi.
Okay, please go ahead, man.
Yeah, it's Women's Month, eh? You still have a month.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
A month of being a nice guy, to say jokingly, but of course it's not much more than that. So there's my email address, by the way, if everyone wants to reach, if anyone on the webinar wants to reach out to me. I must do a quick shout out to Dirk Pienaar from the Khumani Sun, who I met in Kamos years ago. Dirk, I can't remember how many years ago, doing a workshop for upcoming tourism businesses. So Northern Cape is also close to my heart in many ways. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and different contexts and so on. And I must say that to work with people that love the environment and want to give some other people a share of that is absolutely great. So just, Septi mentioned that you can put in questions in the Q&A. So that button sits at the bottom of your bar. And I already see that there's two, Aidan and someone else has posted questions there. So we'll be aiming to answer those questions, even if it's by just typing in text if we don't have time today, because the time is a bit tight. But I want to jump into this theme quickly. Septi did a good introduction in terms of what Stay in Business is about, so I'm not going to repeat that. The issue, of course, is, as most of us here today, and it's quite a number by now, we're close to 80 people in the room, are experiencing, if we are in business, difficulty. And we don't have to quote the statistics of what's happening nationally and so on to know that it is bad. I live in Cape Town, by the way. It's a nice, cool day in Cape Town. That's why I've got my fleece on. But one of my favorite visiting places of a while back, while I was living close by to the Perseverance Tavern, is not going to be there anymore. It's closing. It's the oldest pub in South Africa, by the way. And this is the situation that we are facing, sadly so. And it's not just a theoretical issue. Maybe for policymakers, it may be about next schemes that they may need to launch to help and so on. But for many of us that are operators, it's real. It's kind of our livelihood that's under threat. So I wanted to ask you this question, and we'll pop up a poll quickly. They're asking these questions. So if you don't see it on your phone, if you're on your phone, you can just swipe your phone to get to the poll. If it's on the computer, maybe hidden behind another window if you don't see it immediately. But if you can vote there, sort of, will your business survive? If considering the situation that we are under now. So if you're still doing fairly well and making some money, then that's the first option. If you're hanging in there and just breaking even, if you will have to close in the next, if you have to close if nothing changes in the next few months, in the next 2 months, in fact, or if you have to close if nothing changes in the next 6 months, is those two options. You may survive beyond 6 months if the lockdown is removed and the business is already closed or being closed, or none of the above if you're not involved in business. So we'll give you just a moment there to vote. Of course, the tourism industry is one that's really badly affected by the lockdown. And as I say, we don't have to theorize about it, we feel it. And our ability to respond quickly by changing our business or by adding new products or by aiming at a different market is not that easy, so the retailers may experiencing slower business, but they still have the customers and they're still coming, while many tourism businesses are really stuck. So I want to ask, we good 2/3 of that voted. I'm going to keep it open for another second or two. So if you just want to vote there, what your situation is at the moment, then we can share the result there. Okay, gone. So I've closed the poll, and then we'll share the result with you. It will be appearing on your screen too. So most of us, about half of us, in fact, will have to close if nothing changes in the next 2 to 6 months. So that's quite severe. To close your business is quite a severe thing. And it's not something that we necessarily want to talk about too much. But it is the reality for many of us. And this is what I want to focus on quickly. By the way, we've got a workshop I'll tell you about a bit later on, and which through CZA we can offer you quite a good discount to attend. It's a paid for workshop around some of these things that I'm going to talk about. So you can also use this opportunity to see if this may help you, and then attend the workshop if you think it will. But we're faced with, if we are in that situation, like half of us are, that in the next few months our business may have to close if things don't change. We are faced with some radical decisions, and it's either reshaping our current distressed business into something else so that it can still do business, or it is closing the business and starting something new in the near future. And those are the kind of real options that we have. And I'll explain to you a bit more. In fact, the 3 things I want to talk to you about today is the options that you have. What are the kind of things that you can do if you need to reinvent your business, and then stepping back a bit during these times of difficulty and asking yourself some deeper questions. So those 3 things I would like to cover in the quick presentation. Yeah, and I'll go fairly quickly through it. Please use the Q&A. There are already 2 questions there. You can add more questions as we go. You don't have to wait till the end to post it. You can type there, just click on that button on the bar of the Zoom window that says Q&A, and you can post your questions there. So what are your options in terms of decision making? So, you know, sort of you can, when you're faced with a business under distress, you can say, okay, we're going to restructure the business. We're going to find new ways to do. We're going to add product. In fact, Div de Villiers, who hosts the workshop that I told you about, makes the example in the workshop of one of his clients who's a professional hunter. And he brings international hunting clients to different hunting destinations in South Africa. Of course, he's got no clients coming at the moment, so the business stopped. But what he did is he said, what can I do to refine a bit what I offer, and maybe during this time at least make some money, if not the same amounts I've had it before. And he basically used his existing connections onto the game farms to set up a business that goes into collecting and distributing high quality wood, briarwood. So it's really a different marketplace, but he's found something that he could do. So maybe you could also find something that you can do to reinvent, restructure your business, find something that at least you can create some income from. But of course, the situation may be a bit more severe. And that's the second point there, is informal turnaround, where you have to go and make some out-of-court agreements with people to make sure that you can keep going, so that they don't kind of start proceedings against you, or even if a step further is reaching compromise, which actually goes to the courts for ratification. Of course, our Companies Act makes provision for formal business rescue too. I'm going to talk about that just now. Or if you are insolvent and are not going to get out of the situation that you are, you may actually, in fact, wind down the business that leads to liquidation. And there's no shame in that, because winding up a business in a good way, if it's not feasible, may help you to actually start something new later on, as opposed to investing all your resources and your time and your effort and your energy and your emotions into something that may not work out in the end. So what's not an option is that things are going to turn to normal quickly. So we have to adjust in some way or the other, so that we can get back to the business levels that we had before. Now, I spoke there about these different options that we have. Basically, you can kind of see it in this format too. So if you're under distress as a business, it's either, if you're at the bottom there, the bottom path, you're insolvent, which means that you have to wind down and liquidate. So we know if a business is insolvent, it can't pay what it's due. It needs to start with their proceedings by law, by the way. If you're still solvent, you may in fact stop trading too, and there are provisions for that in the Companies Act. So you may see that in the next 6 months, 9 months, 18 months, the business is not going to be able to be sustainable, and you can preemptively wind down the business so that you can harness those resources that you have into something new. But if you're still solvent, there are three ways for continued trading. And the top one is that one about restructuring and reinventing yourself. So I'll speak about, that's the second point I want to speak about, by the way. So I'll save more about that just now, for not just now. But then there are two other options. The one is a business rescue process, which is fairly regulated, highly regulated, in fact, and it goes through the courts in terms of appointing a business rescue practitioner. Quite a costly affair. If you are in a small or medium firm, it may be too costly for you to consider. However, that other option, the compromise, which is a bit more informal in terms of getting to agreement with different parties, and then taking that agreement to the courts for ratification, and that compromise is in fact then recorded by the courts. So there's also that section 155 of the Companies Act. So there's a lot of detail to this that we can't cover here in our workshop, which covers half a day. We actually go in more detail into those kind of things. But that's just to give you a quick overview of what your options are in terms of the legal elements and things that can lead to either restructuring your business or perhaps even winding it up. So I'm just going through this fairly quickly. These are a bit more detail on each of those levels of financial distress that you go through, so that first one is performance enhancement. And if you're in that category that you can still do good business, you may find that this is a good opportunity for you to actually address the problems that you've had in the past. So it may be that you do things that you shouldn't be doing, or that you don't do things, or the business isn't doing things productively enough. The staff isn't kind of following the right systems that you want them to. It's maybe now time to actually make those changes, or even in the refinement of your product offering. If you see there's a shift that you can give towards, it's a good time to do that now. That's kind of performance enhancement to take your business into a bit of a more profitable situation. However, the informal turnaround is always available in terms of then going to the courts for ratification. Out of court settlement. Sorry, that was the out of court settlement without the court's involvement. Sorry, I'll just go back to that one. So rather than kind of stick your head in the sand and wish things to go away, this option means that you can make some refinements and make some financial arrangements with people that you owe money to, as opposed to the compromise where you actually go to the courts for ratification of that. So there's a bit more costly, but then at least, you don't have people knocking on your door for monies like the receiver of revenue perhaps, or some suppliers, because the court has recognized the compromises that you've reached. And then business rescue I spoke about. It's quite a structured way. The CIPC has got business rescue practitioners that they appoint to actually manage your business during that time that you go through implementing a business rescue plan. And that plan must be approved by the courts too. So it is quite a kind of formal, and we know we've heard SAA going through this process recently. It's quite a costly affair. Especially if you're a sizable business. And then the last, of course, if you're very critical, winding down, and to recognize that early on is better, because then you can plan for winding things down in such a way that you don't waste all the resources that you may still have to start something new later on. Okay, so that's kind of, just in terms of your choices, a very brief description of what your options may be. If we speak about reinventing your business, and by the way, thanks Rodwin and Aidan for your questions there. So please post your questions if you have any. We can go into a bit more depth in answering them there. So let me go on to, I'm going through this fairly quickly because I know we've got a packed hour and there's still so much more to come from other panelists, so I don't want to eat up their time. Reinventing your business. So if you need to tweak, there are certain things that you have to start doing a bit more of, and certain things that you have to do less of. And that's kind of the basic thing that you can ask yourself, what are the things that we can, within our reach at the moment, do more of and improve upon? And what are the things that we are doing that may be hampering the business? So if we start with decrease, the one of the most powerful things that you can do is to go into that second one, there's the overheads, and to not be afraid to cut radically, including in some elements that requires compromise in terms of lifestyle. So if a business is under threat, it asks for radical intervention, including some things that we need to give up ourselves to. But yeah, so production costs and so on, where you can save, where you can change to another supplier that that may be offering you a better deal right now. It's kind of very possible because most businesses are having difficulty to go back to your current suppliers or find new suppliers that may be able to provide you with better deals is always a thing that you can consider. In terms of increase, sales is of course very difficult at the moment. So your existing product offering may not be suitable for increasing sales, but as the example that I mentioned earlier about the professional hunter, just to find something that you can increase sales around in maybe something that's related or some other value offering that you can have. And then I also mentioned that you can look at your effectiveness and efficiency. So effectiveness is about doing the right things. So you may have noticed in the past that there are things in your business that are happening that's not really helping in terms of the main value delivery of what you're offering, or in terms of efficiencies around doing things in the right way so that you get it done quite quickly and well, without wastage. So it's a good time to, if your business can take the dip and come out, it's a good time to make those changes right now. So in terms of reinvention, this is the business model canvas. Some of you may have encountered this in the past. It's a one-page business planning framework. So there are these kind of tools. We speak a bit about this in the workshop too. How you can, for instance, take something like your value proposition and linking to customer segments and focus on that at the moment while using certain of your key partners that are there already, the resources that you have already, and turning that into new ways of offering value to customers. Of course, each business is different. So to make a generalization is very difficult. You can't really. But in this situation that we are facing, where you can generate cash and you can generate cash quickly, that is something to really consider very seriously. It's perhaps not always in offering big discounts, sort of it could rather be a prepayment for a service delayed or something else. But there are ways for you to use this kind of thinking through seeing how all the different elements of your business fit together and where you have value that you can, through different ways of approaching it, find ways of actually reinventing your business slightly. Of course, when it comes to reinventing your business to the point that you kind of pivot into something else, that's a different story. And if your business structure is still healthy, you can do it through the existing business. But if that business is already so far in the corner, it may even be a good idea for you to look at winding that business up and starting something new. So I'm saying these things very quickly. I know these are radical things, and for most of us, it's things to think about very seriously. But we do offer the opportunity for you to come to the workshop to learn more about that too. And then the last point, sorry for rushing through this, guys, but we are have limited time. I just want to talk about this concept, that the Hedgehog concept is a tool that Jim Collins developed. He wrote a book, From Good to Great, which I highly recommend for you to read if you have the time. He speaks about, it's American companies, big companies, but it applies to every one of us. When a company is experiencing stress, he says, the research that they've done about high-performing companies in America found that they do three things, these companies. They go look at these things, the things that they're good at, the things that they really believe are important to do, and the things they can make money in. And it's as simple as that. And then what he says is it can become like a hedgehog, a curled up hedgehog. When you combine these things, you can see where the overlap is so that you can combine the profits, the passion, and the proficiency into something that is described as your purpose, perhaps, So proficiency is about the capacity that you have to do things. What can you do well? What can you do better than others? What access do you have to resources? So you can ask yourself now, by the way, if you're there, just dot them down, 3, 4, 5 things that you're great at, that you do better than others, something in your destination or your resources that's better than others, something in what you can offer value that you can create that's better than others. And then you can do the same for what you really believe is important, what you're passionate about, what you want to see happening in the world and your life, and combine that with where there's money flowing. So at the moment, of course, money isn't flowing widely in many places, but you can take a short-term view and say, what are the immediate things I can do? And you can take a medium-term view and say, where do we anticipate money to be flowing soon? And then we combine those three into that kind of hedgehog that can give you a purpose and that can describe you why it is that your business exists. And those are the 3 things that I wanted to offer you very quickly. So I'm sorry that I've rushed so much. I would have loved to spend more time and maybe ask someone a question or two to learn about your businesses. But maybe there may be opportunity in the future soon. And I see Rodwin and Peter and so on have noted some questions that we can address. But before we get to that, let me just, I refer to this workshop thing, and I'll just want to quickly tell you about that. There's some other things that we do with the Stay in Business Initiative too. One is these webinars, which you're on now. So well done. You took the first step. Maybe you want to take a second step too, which is to attend the workshop. And there's my colleague Div, who's a licensed business rescue practitioner, but he's got in fact, in Mozambique, he's got a tourism business that's also in the same position as many of us. And he's had to make some very serious changes there too. His profession now is not, he's got a business in the tourism industry, but his day-to-day job is in business rescue. So it's an interesting combination. And he's the host of our workshop that will be in a few weeks. I'll give you the details now. So those are the kind of things that we do in that workshop, and that if we go through all of that, what you end up at the end of the workshop is a clear idea, clear direction that you can take in terms of your own situation. You know, sort of, so spend half a day on gaining that. I think that's worth doing. There's the 7 points, the detail of what we cover in the workshop. And then there's a special offer that CZA alongside with Northern Cape Tourism has organized for you. So you can get a good discount if you use a certain code. I'll give it to you now. So instead of 900 Rand, you only pay 600 Rand. It goes through Quicket. It's quite easy to do. Here's some instructions. So that's the website address, which I'll type into the text chat just now too, for you to click through to. So if you just take that address, sorry, I shouldn't do that. If you just take that address and you type it into your browser, it will take you to a page where you can purchase a ticket for the workshop. You have to use this CZA offer with the capitals, just note the capitals, promotion code to get the 300 Rand off. So, and if you struggle, you can go to howtobuy.stayinbusiness.support. I'll also put that in the text chat just now, as well as the promotional code for you to copy. And that offer is then for available for you this afternoon till about an hour after the webinar. So that's very quickly. I'm going to launch another poll where you can actually indicate whether you think you may want to attend. This is not binding, so just say if you think you may want to attend a workshop like that, yes or no, or maybe. And then that also gives an indication who we can be following up with later on. So as you vote, you know, sort of, that is kind of the end of my story there. Let me just say that as a last thing, that you can contact us there at info@the-epr.org, which is the Entrepreneurial Planning Institute, if you want to have say something, or if you want to have a look at the Stay in Business website. It's stayinbusiness.support. You just type that into your browser and you'll go to the web address too. But if you follow the link that I'm going to give you now, then you'll be able to get that discount. And I'll type all of that into the text chat for you to see soon. So, Septi, I'm not sure if how quick, if I was too quick, if I was quick enough, but that's very, very quickly what I have to offer here. So, Septi, you'll have to switch on your video and your camera if I want to refer back to you.
Okay, are you finished now? Okay, thank you so much, Christoph. Yes, you rushed it as you should have, but as Christoph said, this is really just to, it's a high-level presentation on what is a more in-depth workshop for those of you who may wish to proceed to the workshop. And I think we as CZA are very grateful to the team at Stay in Business for the discount that they are giving to people who are coming through these webinars. Of course, we're hosting the webinars for free, but thank you, Christoph, for that and for the presentation. So all the things that Christoph has touched on would then be dealt with in depth in those workshops, where we as CZA won't really be participating, but you're in good hands with the Stay in Business team at the Entrepreneurial Planning Institute. Christoph, just before I move on, there's been a request that you share the title of the book that you referred to on the hedgehog. So if you could just put it on the chat,
I'll do so
that people can just see it. And so I was checking while Christoph was presenting, I was checking whether Maggie was coming all right. It looks like a problem of power is not resolved yet, so she's not able to join us, unfortunately. But I can talk about, in summary form, what Maggie would have covered. Because CZA Tourism SME Network is, partnering with Maggie on what she would have covered. Maggie comes from an organization called Travel Africa Network, which is a channel that is launching in the new year, covering all of Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East, some 130 million households in that region. We have partnered with her as CZA to say that when she's ready to launch, we want to see in a big way SME products being broadcast to those regions in a big way. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to give SMEs another avenue to go to market, because we ourselves being an SME recognize the difficulties that SMEs have in order to project themselves to enhance their visibility into the international markets. Of course, there are a number of platforms where DMOs would typically take SMEs to go and showcase their products. I'm talking now about trade shows, all over the place. I'm sure some of our SMEs or our audiences listening have been to some of these. World Trade Market, ITB, on the MICE side, IMEX, IBTM. These are all important platforms. But if you're a small business, you kind of get lost in those platforms. Fitur, all over the place, you get lost in those platforms. So we are, as CZA, exploring other avenues to project SMEs to the world so that they get the visibility. So we're working with Travel Africa Network on that, and those who are part of our network will hear more as we go along, as we announce these things. Even earlier, Maggie and I were chatting about a very exciting initiative that she's working on, including MasterCard and Ethiopian Airlines. Fantastic for SMEs. And that deal, which is a major deal, we're going to be using to position SMEs, and we position SMEs unashamedly to position SMEs to the international market. And all of these, the details will be coming out as we work on this. But I just wanted to, because she had shared with me in the past one of the slides that she normally uses. So I'm just going to go through and talk about one of the things of the platforms that they are creating in partnership with us. And this is the specific one that we're working on. It's called the SME B2B Tourism Community. It's a virtual community, and it's a virtual reality campaign. And this is what it entails, just to give you the highlights. This is what we've negotiated with her. There's a fee attached to it. It's not a hectic fee, because we've negotiated with Maggie to give us a really good fee compared to what they're going to be charging, the big players. So this comes only through CZA. But what you're going to get is a connection with international buyers and generation of leads. Now, this platform is connected to international buyers around the world through certain networks. I'm not going to mention them, but through certain buyer networks that they are connected with via the overall channel. So SMEs will get to connect with international buyers and generate leads. You'll be able to share your rates, your product, your experience rates on this platform. You'll be able to post your brochures on this platform so they can be accessed virtually. You'll be able to post your videos if you have any. Business cards will be posted on this online platform. You'll be able to manage and track critical communications between you and your buyers, which will be enabled and facilitated via this platform. You'll be able to manage key contacts in one place, because sometimes, we SMEs, our things are scattered all over the place. And so here we're creating a platform which will make it easier for SMEs to literally manage all their interactions with their international buyers on one platform in one place. You'll be able to share ideas and attend tourism webinars hosted by various professionals like this one. And you set up virtual meetings. This is a crucial one. You can set up virtual meetings and via video conferencing platform, virtual meetings with your potential buyers. We have said to Maggie, what matters most to us as CZA, as a tourism SME network, is linking SMEs and their products and experiences directly with buyers without them having to go all over the place. But that is really what is of interest to us, and what they are using to enable us to do that is virtual reality technology. So this is where we're hoping that there'll be a partnership between us and the DMOs to capture your experiences, to capture your products onto virtual reality, and then we take that, put it on this platform, and then we use this platform to communicate that, to expose it to international buyers around the world. So that is what, in a nutshell, Maggie would have spoken about. She would have spoken more broadly about the business of Travel Africa Network as well, just the historical background, the extent of reach. She would have covered all of that, and unfortunately, she's very sad that she can't be here. I am too, but she has this mishap. So I've kind of summarized the specific component that her company, and us as the network are working on. And of course, the one that we spoke about just before we came onto this webinar, which is a new development with Ethiopian Airlines and MasterCard. We really are forming these partnerships in order to box for the SMEs and bring SMEs to international markets, explore every avenue that there is to bring your products and your experiences from all parts of the country to the rest of the world. So that would have been Maggie's presentation. You can pose some questions. I'll try and answer them. I'm not going to answer them as expertly as she would have, but that's what she would have covered. So Sharon, I think I must come to you now, Sharon Munyaka. I'm grateful that the questions are coming. We're noting them, and after Sharon has spoken, we will then take all the questions and try and answer them to the best of our ability. Sharon, please, and welcome. Good to have you. Before you speak, I want to say I'm looking at participants, 80. Now, this is record setting by the Northern Cape. It's only surpassed by the national webinar that we did with World Travel Market Africa, which had 120 attendees. And I want to say kudos to Diana Martin and Tebogo Valembo, because they are the ones who made it happen. And thank you so very much. Diana will know that at some point I said, ooh, Diana, I'm putting my head, is this thing gonna happen? And Diana said to me, Safety, calm down, it is going to happen. And I said, hey, you know the Northern Cape better than I do. So Diana, I take my hat off to you, and Tebogo, thank you so much. Sharon, please take over.
Thank you so much, Septi, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Well done to the Northern Cape. I think you're really showing the commitment that you have for your province, and just the willingness to say we're not going down without a fight. So it is to be commended. So my name is Sharon Munyaka, and I'm an organizational psychologist. So I'm in the business of people. And I work with individuals, I work with groups, and I work with organizations. And primarily the work is around saying, how do we ensure performance is at its best? How do we help organizations to, motivate people to be the best version of themselves? How do we ensure that our organizations can continue to thrive? So here we are on day, not sure 100 and what, of lockdown. I've even lost count. So we woke up in this new place in March 2020, and we've had to continue living in this reality that we've been thrown into. So Christoph, thank you for setting that backdrop for the conversation, because it's clear, it's logical, and there's steps in terms of what one can do when they look at where their business is at. But all of that is happening against the backdrop of COVID-19. And I'm going to do a little bit of a brain lesson. So at the front of your forehead, if you can see my camera, sits the prefrontal cortex, right? So it's the size of your fist. So this part of your brain is responsible for all your logical reasoning, all your analytical thinking. When you're relaxed, this fist will remain closed. When you are stressed, it opens up. Right? At the back of our head sits the amygdala. It's the size of a walnut. So it's a tiny piece of our brain, but we call this the primitive brain. So the primary purpose of the brain is to detect threat, no threat. So every day, it's just detecting threat, no threat, threat, no threat. And then it forces our body to react in a particular way. So COVID-19 is being detected as a threat. So every day that you wake up, every day when you open the news and you see the stats are going up or down, you're seeing the statistics that say businesses are shutting down. We saw the article about Old Pete, I think the oldest pub that is shut down. It's messages that are being communicated to your brain to say threat, threat, threat. And when we're under threat, our brain is processing the information to say you must run or you must freeze, right? So flight or flee. And all of that is releasing different hormones in our body. So the adrenaline is being pumped into our system because we're being prepared to run or to freeze, right? So if we think about primitive times, there's a lion coming. I have to run. I have to climb a tree. I need to run to safety. And so these hormones are being released, but they're only supposed to be released for a short period of time so that we can get out of danger. Now, what COVID is doing is that it's releasing these high levels of cortisol. So this is the hormone that's being released into our system. So we're constantly under threat. So it confuses our system because we don't know what we're supposed to do, right? And we are wanting to get into the happy hormones called dopamine. We want to be able to relax, oxytocin, which gives us the love hormone. But now cortisol is just flowing in our system and it makes us feel sick. It makes us feel tired. It makes our body work much, much harder than it's supposed to. So think about driving your car and you're constantly driving it at full speed, full throttle. Your car is not going to survive. That's not how your car is designed, right? So our bodies are not designed to survive in that way. So all of us are different in terms of how we handle a threat, how we handle stress, how we handle adversity, and COVID falls under that bucket. So some of us might have said in the beginning, you know, this virus is not going to affect me. My business is foolproof. I've got a game farm. It's, you know, it's hardy. The conditions are fine. So I'm not going to be affected. But as time carried on and we find ourselves in August, that narrative might start to shift. Some of us might have been angry at the government to say, you're making me stay at home, you're taking me away from my activities, you're putting us in these lockdown levels, now people can't come to my establishment, I can't service the people in my community, and you were feeling all these emotions of anger. Some of you might have experienced, you know, the sense of, okay, if I just stay at home, I sanitize, I wear my mask, everything is going to be fine. This COVID is going to go away. And we find ourselves in day 100, whatever, of lockdown, and it's still continuing. Some of you might have been experiencing this continuous sadness of, I don't know when this will end. Children were supposed to go to school and then school stopped. We were supposed to have our provinces open and now it's closed again. The numbers are going up and down. Northern Cape, you were pretty lucky in the beginning. So I have a practice in Port Elizabeth and in Johannesburg, and we are in the epicenter. So on both sides, whether I'm in Port Elizabeth or in Johannesburg, we are right in the thick of it. So in the Northern Cape, you were kind of cushioned, but then you started seeing your numbers increasing. So maybe you might have experienced some sadness of when will all of this end? And some of you might then have started to experience the acceptance to say, okay, this is happening. I have to figure it out and I have to proceed. So all of these emotions, colleagues, are normal. You are doing the best that you can for who you are. So it starts with you admitting that this is where we are, because when we admit, that's the first step to recovery. You know, when you are flying, we listen to the air hostess saying you need to put your oxygen mask on yourself before you can help somebody else. So at this moment, when you have this threat of COVID-19 being your lived reality, you have to put the oxygen mask on yourself. You need to be okay first before you can help anybody else. Put the oxygen mask on yourself by recognizing that, okay, I am not sleeping because I'm worried about my staff. I'm worried about having to make the decision to shut down my business. I'm worried about what is going to happen to my income. Understand and accept all those different emotions that are surfacing for you. You are not imagining it. This is happening, and all of us are in our own different journeys. All right. So you admit the different emotions that you're experiencing. The next thing is to say, okay, let me look objectively at my business. So I often say to people, you need to take the balcony view. Because often when you are in the middle of things, you stop seeing the trees from the forest because the problem is just too big. It becomes overwhelming. So it's important for you as a business owner to just step away, just for a little bit. And I know it sounds easy. I'm sitting here and saying, take a balcony view. And you're probably thinking, I have salaries. I don't know, I'm going to lose my house. I don't know if I'm going to lose my car. I don't know what's going to happen to the upkeep of my family. When you take a balcony view, you're able to start making a decision. If we think of the slides that Christoph shared with us, you need to make that call and say, where am I realistically? Are we bleeding such that we cannot go beyond August? Do we have enough savings that could make us go on for the next 3 months? Is there a way we can rethink who we are as a business? So yes, you might have been offering a particular service. Maybe you're an accommodation establishment and perhaps you are only catering to an exclusive market. But now you have to think maybe of approaching the Department of Health and saying we can be a quarantine facility, and upskill yourself in terms of saying, how do we ready ourselves to be able to offer that service? Maybe you are a restaurant and you were reliant on alcohol sales, but what else can you do? What else is required in your community? Are there any services that you're offering now that can be transferred to be online? So it's that moment to be creative. Remember, prefrontal cortex, when it's open, there's no good thinking that can happen. Threat, 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 that's the message the primitive brain is sending. When it closes, good thinking can happen. You're able to take a balcony view. How do you get to good thinking? Sleeping. You need to sleep. Like really try and force yourself to just sleep. That saying where people say sleep on it. It's a very important saying because once you sleep, your mind is able to organize the thoughts. There's power in decision making. So you need to let it settle into your body. So the body is not there to just transport the head, right? It has a purpose. Trust your body intelligence. Your body is the oldest intelligence. The brain, yes, cognitive, yes, all your grades at school are great, but your body knows before your brain does. When you get into a new space and you feel your heart rate increasing, your body knows something is wrong, but your brain hasn't figured out what that thing is. So trust that. Exercise, go outside, get some sunshine, get some fresh air. Use all of that to say, okay, am I being premature in changing my business model? Am I being premature in wanting to shut down my business? What else am I not thinking about? What else do I need to be considering? And all of that requires a little bit of time. Do gardening. Do something that you don't ordinarily do because it allows this part to stop opening and shut down so that good decisions, good thinking, and good outcomes can occur. When you are relaxed, when you are breathing, you must remember to breathe every day. Because you might find, just notice in your body, how are you sitting right now? Are you sitting with your shoulders up and you're only breathing from this top part? Babies are able to breathe from the stomach with ease. But as adults, we stop breathing like that. We're so anxious, we're carrying so much. Our breathing is at the top. We're in combat mode, I'm ready to run. Because the brain is detecting threat, threat, threat. So we might feel that we've evolved as a people, but we're still quite primitive. in who we are, and our body processes our emotions in that way. So it's important for you to find ways of just managing that stress. Sleep, take a bath, play with your dogs, call a friend. If you pray, meditate, take some time out, write down your thoughts. Another emotion that might be difficult for you is the emotion of shame. So shame is such a difficult emotion, and it can stop us from moving to the next thing, because you might feel shame in having lost your business. Maybe you've been operating for many years and this is hard. It feels like a personal loss. It feels like a failure on your part. No one could have predicted COVID-19. Learn from it, but move on. So there's a term we often use about resilience. So resilience is not only about bouncing back. Resilience is also about courage. Resilience is having the courage to wake up every day and saying, yes, I'm going to try again. And courage is not always about the big things that are explosive. It's even in the simple decision every day to say, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to try again today. I didn't feel like I could manage yesterday, but you know what? Today is a new day. I have another opportunity to try something new. I have another angle to rethink my business. So shame, yes, but on the other side of shame is courage. So step into that courage. Step into the courage to say, yes, the situation was presented, but I rose up. I was able to keep getting up, and I am going to keep on trying. So as Northern Cape, you showed up. You showed up in your numbers because it matters enough. And that's the fuel that we need to keep going. The purpose, the passion that Christoph was speaking about, you need to connect to why you started your business in the first place. There was something that drove you, even when it might not have made any sense to anyone else, to say this business matters enough. The same love and care that you put into it when you started before COVID is the same amount of energy and even more that you need to put into it now, and say, hey, this business matters enough, my province matters enough, and I'm going to get up and put our business on the map. What are those gifts of COVID that are hanging around for you to pick? It might feel like COVID has been so terrible and it's taken so much from us. But on the other hand, COVID has presented itself with so many different gifts for us. So you've been forced to be at home, coexist with your family and your children, and it's created different dynamics. So what does that mean for you and how you run your business? What are the things that you need to rethink and say, actually, I need to start offering a particularly different service because COVID has presented an opportunity that I didn't see. So I could go on and on and on, and I'm just mindful of the time. But really, you know, ladies and gentlemen, to say, keep on, don't stop, it's worth it. And yeah, it is tough, but there's a season for everything under the sun. Just like we have winter, summer is coming. It won't be cold forever. So keep the faith alive, keep on being courageous, keep trying every single day, ask for help. Mental health has become very critical in this time. Do not suffer alone. Call a friend, call a helpline, reach out. You are not alone. Don't wait until the very end when everything has fallen apart. Ask for help, even if it's just to speak to your banker and say, I don't understand my figures. What must I do? You might be surprised at this whole community. By you picking up the phone, you might get ideas. Caesar is there offering different opportunities. Christoph is there with the different workshops. Don't sit in your corner on your own, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. All of us are on different journeys. All of us are following a different path. So do things at your pace. Okay, and keep on keeping on. Thank you so much, Septi. Over to you.
Absolutely, Sharon. There's just one person you didn't mention in that list, and Sharon Munyaga is there for you, good people. I think this has been absolutely brilliant, and I really need to give credit here to Diana Martin, because when we started these webinars, we had no thinking about this kind of critical input that Sharon has just given us. I mean, to me, it is absolutely mind-blowing, and I'm reading the comments on the chat, and I see just how many affirmations are coming through, and people are saying, man alive, that's exactly what we needed to hear. And it was Diana Martin's idea to look around and bring a psychologist. And Sharon, we were lucky to find you, and thank you so very much for the input that you've made, because I think the point that we're making here is a very simple one. I think when in difficult times like these, we're all focusing on the business. How do you fix the business? How do you get the business right? How do you bounce back? But we forget about about the jockey. And this is exactly what Sharon is addressing. That you need to take care of yourself. I personally have picked up so much because I'm one of those people. My mind has always got a million ideas, and I never sleep because they just racing all the time. But so Sharon, thank you so much for that, and thank you, Diana, for bringing for the suggestion to get a psychologist. I think the future webinars are actually going to benefit a lot from that. I want to say also thank you, and I'm not doing the thank yous yet, but just in case I forget, I want to say thank you to someone I have yet to meet. I haven't met. Aiden, I see the name Aiden here, and looks like Aiden is a real activist, in terms of sharing the information about these webinars. He's from youthtourism.org. And Aiden, I just want to say thank you to you. We haven't met yet, and I'll have the privilege of meeting you one of these days, but thank you for spreading the word around about this webinar. And I see there's a word already been shared about the webinar with the tourism minister on the 14th, where they're talking about the tourism recovery plan. Okay, friends, we still have time, and there are some questions that have come through, and I'm going to ask the panelists if you can just look at the chat and see if there's a question there that relates to your talk, and then you can pick it up. And I'm going to address some of the questions that have come through. In fact, just one question that has come through, two questions that have come through Q&A. The first one was to say, the first question, by the way, is going to go to Northern Cape Tourism Authority or to Jean Wilson. I don't know who's going to take it. I'll answer my question, and then I'll ask you, either you, Sharon, or Jean, to answer the question, which says, how do we bring the local tourism organizations in the Northern Cape together, and how do we get youth in tourism more involved? So I'm packing that question with you so that you can help us with it when I get back to you. The second one says, how do SMMEs create partnerships with our tourism department when our ideas are blocked or not given a chance? We want to help market and grow travel in the Northern Cape because it seems like opportunities are not open to everyone in the province. And then the third question is directed at you, Sharon. Sharon Munyaka, I'm sure you can see it, and then you'll be able to pick it up. Before I invite the province, Northern Cape Tourism Authority and Jane to respond, I just wanted to make one general point. And by the way, one of the questions that I picked up in the chat says, what is the importance of business unity and one voice for the industry in view of the challenges faced by COVID-19? I'm going to attend to those. And the one point that I want to make, and this is what we have learned as CZA Tourism SME Network, is that, friends, sometimes we as entrepreneurs make it a little difficult for government to work with us because we all rush into them. And I know we are individual entrepreneurs, we're running our own businesses, and every single one of us is rushing to government with their own little problem, with their own little need, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think we can actually make things easier for everybody, for ourselves, for government, if we collaborate a lot more. So that when we approach government with anything that we want to engage them on, any ideas we have, any needs we want to express, we do that as a collective. Because to be quite honest, some of the needs that we have, some of the challenges that we have are common to all of us. And there's no reason why we should all be rushing to government individually, because they're not just looking after us, they're looking after a whole lot of things. So to make it easier for them is when we collaborate and we package our needs and issues and we go to them and say, look, these are our needs, can you help with us? Can you help us as a collective? And that's what we do at CZA. We figured out that, in order to make it easier for government to partner with us and help us resolve our issues as entrepreneurs, we need to collaborate a lot more. We need to work as collectives so that we're not rushing there individually. And sometimes we might feel that we're being blocked, and we're not being blocked. It's just that, it's too much for anybody to deal with all these people. So what I'm really trying to emphasize here is that in engaging, you can see now we're engaging with Northern Cape Tourism Authority because we're a collective, because we are CZA, we have entrepreneurs across the country in tourism, so we could talk to them with one voice. And I think that's important. I think it answers both these questions. I've often had, if you've ever attended the updates that have been given by TPCSA, Tourism Business Council of South Africa, reporting back on their engagement with governments, they have said this over and over again. Good people, let us engage as a collective. Let us not individually rush there. Each association is rushing to government. Of course, there are specific needs for specific segments of the tourism industry. We understand that. And there are specific associations that will represent specific segments. If, for instance, you want to talk about accommodation establishments, issues facing accommodation, then you go and engage as an association for accommodation. But collaboration, working together as a collective is one of the things that are going to help us. That is what I wanted to say. And then I want to ask either Sharon Lewis or the first question there, how do we bring the local tourism organizations in the Northern Cape together? And how do we get youth in tourism more involved? I don't know who's going to take that question.
Okay. Thank you, Septi. I'll take it. But firstly, I just would like to say thank you to all the speakers, and more importantly to Dr. Sharon Monyaka, and also because it's Women's Month. Thank you so much. It's really something that we needed, and you've touched all of us. As you said, the jockey cannot just ride, he sometimes needs to get off the horse also and look internally. So thank you, ma'am. Yes, the question is, how do we just go back to the question again. How do we organize how do we bring local tourism organizations in the Northern Cape together, and how do we get youth in tourism more involved? Yes, colleagues, I like to refer to our partners in the Northern Cape. This is a very important question, because as Septi's just said, that in solving our problems, the problems don't belong to one of us, it belongs to all of us. And how are we going to improve Northern Cape tourism is by coming together as a collective, to collaborate, to network. What we are starting in a couple of weeks is through SATSA, is to set up a chapter for the Northern Cape, participate in the central SATSA chapter, which comprises, become members of the central SATSA chapter, which the central chapter consists of Northern Cape, Free State, and Northwest. And through this process, we hope that, or rather our product will buy into that, because it is important, to have a voice where product is represented. And also SATSA is a member of Tourism Business Council, which at a broader scale represents all the different tourism stakeholders from a private sector stance. But for us important, we have structures in the Northern Cape. We have From the NCTA side, we have the Tourism Marketing Forum, which meets on a quarter. There we come together as practitioners from different spheres of government. We also have root participation there. And I don't see why we cannot open it also to youth. Youth does participate there, but more specifically, we'll have a discussion with the management team, which is ourselves and Ms. Wilson's team, that we also open up to youth organizations. And an important thing that you also said, we keep on talking to the youth. We should talk with the youth. So thank you for this question. It's definitely something that we will work with, that we work at. And then there's another forum called the Tourism Forum, which is chaired by the department, but we are all partners. We are all partners. It's government, it's National Department of Tourism, it's South African tourism, there's other stakeholders, organized tourism stakeholders like SETSA, FEDHASA, and I must say, yes, we don't have a youth organization there because through our product participating there are many youth involved, but specifically now we'll have to think to extend the invitation to youth organizations too. And then on the other one, how does our SMMEs create partnerships with our tourism department? I think this is, again, through these platforms, you know, is that we will be able to engage, collaborate. And I think what is the COVID taught us is the importance of collaborating, that we need to share, you know, we need to find collective solutions. And through that process, you know, we will be able to open up more opportunities. More opportunities will definitely open up because it's only through networking that you discover, no, but, you know, I should have been engaging here a long time ago already. So these platforms, we will share the note. I'm sure Ms. Wilson is also, if she wants to add, she can also come in with your permission, Septi, but we will share the dates of when we are hosting these meetings. We send out the agendas. And we also asked, we just completed our first marketing forum last week on Friday. So we will share the dates, you know, and how, and also the agendas. And those that want to participate, you know, you're welcome to participate because it's only through this engagement that collectively we will find solutions. Remember, where we are coming from, we don't know all the answers. And so we need partners, you know, to help us find those solutions to improve tourism, to improve our tourism, our tourism experience, to improve our marketing and promotion on broader and bigger platforms, and also, you know, how we're going to network through the channel, you know, which is important, and therefore we need these engagements. But we will communicate. Also, we have a tourism newsletter, which is a quarterly newsletter. We'll share that also. So if those, please send us your details. We'll make it available. And through these, again, I'm saying through these forums, we will extend invitations. And we welcome, you know, if more new, fresh ideas come in, and the young people, we want those ideas because there's where you learn things, the creativity, etc., because they don't have barriers to creativity. So we need you, young people. Thank you, Septi. Okay.
Thank you so much, Sharon, for that comprehensive response. Jin, I don't know if you want to weigh in on that. So if you do, this is your opportunity. Otherwise, we can move on. Jin Wilson.
No, thank you, Septi. I think Sharon has covered everything. I don't have anything to add. We will share our communication platforms with everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. So let me just read some of the comments on the chat here. The danger of collaboration, which is the point I made, if not done properly, will divide the industry even further. Should there be more collaboration and information sharing as Aiden does? I'm certain that, you know, you can read it, but I think the point that we're making is that, you know, at CZA Tourism and SME Network, we say, we have a saying, collaboration is the new currency. And really, if we do not collaborate and you learn to collaborate, I think it doesn't come naturally to us as entrepreneurs. as entrepreneurs, we're very individualistic, we're very competitive, everyone is doing their own thing. But CZA was built specifically to drive collaboration, because we have found that when we collaborate, we can actually accomplish more. And I'm talking both domestically and internationally. So I agree with the point that Leonard is making there, the caution that he's raising. But I think that collaboration must be done properly, of course, so that it achieves its goal and doesn't serve the opposite purpose of what, you know, collaboration that actually works is meant to achieve. So good people, I'm just seeing, checking, but you can read for yourself. The YTSA Youth in the Northern Cape has also posted, I don't know who they are, but they've posted there as well. And I wanted to respond to a point that was made by Jean Wilson before, when she made opening remarks. And she said that, please, this partnership should not end here. And I think that Sharon and I, she representing Northern Cape Tourism Authority, and we representing CZA Tourism SME Network, would say unequivocally, we don't want this partnership to end here. Because, you know, some of the things that we're working on as a network, we think would be very beneficial to SMEs in the Northern Cape, and we would like to bring them to the attention of the SMEs in the Northern Cape, who you have contact with. We have SMEs as the network in the Northern Cape. Not many, but we do have some. But we want to make sure that, you know, the things that we're working on, come to the attention of SMEs in the Northern Cape. We would certainly want to continue partner to present this training that the Entrepreneurial Planning Institute has put together, this marvelous training, Stay in Business, and hopefully Sharon will also be part of the team so that she can bring this very, very useful contribution that, you know, she has brought today. All of us have only one objective, to build SMEs and to make life easier for them. On that score, I want to announce that we are soon going to be starting a partnership with Journey. Now, I don't know how many of you have heard about Journey, J-U-R-N-I. We are going to be starting a partnership with Journey, where we're going to be running sessions focusing specifically on digital enablement of tourism SMEs. We want to home in on that topic. And I think that, Maggie, who could not join us, unfortunately, today, she's just sent me another message now to say her power problem was not resolved, will be on that platform. So that is another thing that we're going to be bringing, because we have decided as CZA Tourism SME Network that one of the areas of weakness for many SMEs is this area of digitalization, big word, but digital capabilities. And everybody agrees that going forward, those who do not embrace digitalization and technology are going to be left behind. It's a new conferences now, using Zoom. In the past, we would have called people together, to come and sit for a day or two to talk to each other. So technology, those who embrace technology are really going to win tomorrow. And those who don't are going to be left behind. That is why we are partnering with Journey to bring a session focused on digitalization. And there are other things. Our next webinar with World Travel Market Africa is on travel technology. And we are inviting speakers from Israel, from Portugal, from Spain, to talk about travel technology, how travel technology in general can enable SMEs to be more competitive, but also looking at what new opportunities are emerging in the area of travel and tourism tech. We bring in people who are really experts in the field. So these partnerships must continue. Jane Wilson, you did say it, and I agree with you, because we really want to empower SMEs, to be able to deal with the very real challenges that we're all facing at this time. So friends, we're coming to the end of this. We're left with 3 minutes before we have to release Christoph, who's hosting us here. And so I don't know if there are any closing remarks from you, Sharon, Jean, I just want to say a big thank you to you, Sharon, for hosting us, and for you, Jin, for coming in, and to all our speakers. Christoph, thank you. Sharon Munyaka, thank you so very much. And thank you, Diana and Tebucho, for working with us to organize this session. Really appreciate it. So that's all from my side. If any of you, Sharon, wants to say any last word, Christoph, Jane, please, over to you. We still have 63 people, so we have a good audience.
Okay, thank you so much, Septi, for hosting us, and thank you to the panel. I think it was really awesome. There was a question on the chat around, premature decisions regarding COVID, and I just responded to say getting information is going to be critical as you move forward. You need to make informed decisions. So sometimes we panic and then rush into doing something. So gather as much information as you can beforehand, sleep on it, ask for advice in this community, and make a decision based on all that data. You're not alone, and you don't have to give up too quickly. Remember to breathe. So when you find shoulders are hunched up, just say, I need to exhale. And the sun will continue to shine. So hang 10, everyone, and all of the best in the Northern Cape. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sharon. Appreciate it.
Yeah, Septi, so if I can just also end off by saying I always find it enjoyable to engage with people facing problems in their business and finding the solutions. This was a bit of a rushed kind of engagement, if we can call it that. But if you are able to attend our workshop, I try to answer the questions in the text chat, the Q&A, as well as I could in terms of options for business rescue and so on. But in the workshop that we're hosting early next month, we cover that in much more depth. So if you are in that space of considering where to go, what your options are, what your decisions are, come and spend half the day with us. And thanks to our hosts here today, there's a good discount for attending that too. So I'll be looking forward to seeing you there if you are faced in that situation, and then we can go into much more depth around what your options are.
Okay, thanks, Christoph. Anybody else? Sharon?
Okay, I'm going to be short and then hand over to Ms. Wilson. Just to say again, thank you so much, Septi, Dr. Sharon Munyaka. What you shared with us today is absolutely invaluable. We needed to hear that, and I'm sure we will be locking the one side of the brain now and making sure that we open the other side of the brain, because we do need good solutions now. Again, to Christoph, thank you so much for that advice. It also helps us think further, and also to make that decisions, because sometimes we need to make decisions and we're scared to make decisions, but we have to look at the reality, face them, and like Dr. Munyaka said, ask advice. We are here, and my closing remark is, we're in this together. Together, we will overcome. Thank you again. Brilliant webinar.
Thank you, Sharon. Well, friends, if, I don't know, Jin, you want to come in?
Okay, it's very short. I just like to say thank you to Septi and all the panelists, and I must say we really had a very, very fruitful engagement. I'd also like to comment on what you earlier said, the smallest province with the highest number of registered participants, and we can give ourselves a round of applause. It just shows that the commitment of all the business around here in the province. So thank you very much, and I'm sure we will see again each other in the future. We are looking forward to a fruitful collaboration and working relationship. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jin. At the highest, we had 80. We're closing with 60. Thank you, beautiful people of the Northern Cape, for staying with us till the end. Really appreciate it. We've given our website, our email address there, nkoti@cza.today, if you want to connect, but we will connect again. Thank you so very much, and take care.
Bye-bye, everyone. Stay well.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye all.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.